stuff in these streets. People rely on me. I don't never want to see you again. It's not
You don't mean that, son.
I do, man. I'm not your son. Don't call me son. We not your family. Man, I don't play no games. You feel me? I don't play no games, man. You know, I do this for real, bro. I don't got no problem with giving back, man. I'm the only one out here with a show that's actually giving back, you feel me? And I got proof to show it, you feel me? Shout out to this fan I'm finna go slide on, man.
At 4:15 in the morning, while 45-year-old Yolanda Holmes slept peacefully in her Chicago apartment, a hired killer stood over her bed with a gun. But the most chilling part? After he shot her, his phone rang. The voice on the other end, someone Yolanda trusted with her life, gave him a cold command. Make sure she's dead. That voice belonged to her own son. This is the story of a mother's ultimate sacrifice and her son's ultimate betrayal. This is a story that will shake you to your core. It's about a mother's love, a son's greed, and a betrayal so deep it shocked an entire city. Today, we're diving into the case of a young rapper who threw away everything, his freedom, his future, and his soul, all for money and fame.
A 99-year prison sentence.
This what's wrong with me.
Oh.
Word on the street, young QC got clothes. Word on the street, QC got the hoe. Motherfucker, yo, word on the street, word on the street.
But this isn't just another crime story. This is about what happens when evil hides behind a loving smile, when trust becomes a weapon, and when justice finally catches up. Welcome to the story of Wilson, a man who went from making music videos to serving nearly 100 years in prison. This city has always been known for its beautiful lakefront, amazing music scene, and tough, hardworking people. But beneath all that beauty, Chicago was dealing with serious crime problems. Violence was rising, and families were struggling to keep their children safe. In this environment lived a woman named Yolanda Holmes. She was 45 years old, worked as a hairstylist, and was doing everything she could to give her son a better life. Yolanda wasn't just any mother. She was the kind of mom who would sacrifice anything for her child. Her son, Wilson, was in his early 20s and had big dreams. He wanted to be a rapper. He called himself Young QC and spent his time making YouTube videos, posting on social media, and trying to get famous. But Wilson had a problem. He wanted success fast, and he wanted the money and fame that came with it. Yolanda Holmes was the definition of a devoted mother. She was a single parent raising Wilson in Chicago's uptown neighborhood. As a hairstylist, she worked hard every day to make sure her son had everything he needed. But Yolanda didn't just provide the basics. She went above and beyond. She helped Wilson find work, supported his music dreams, and even bought him a Ford Mustang. Not just any car, but one with custom upgrades and luxury features. To Wilson, this car wasn't just transportation, it was a symbol of the lifestyle he craved. Yolanda's friends and clients knew her as generous, selfless, and completely devoted to her son. She would talk about Wilson with pride, always hoping he would make something of himself. She believed in him when others didn't. She supported him when he struggled. She loved him unconditionally. What Yolanda didn't know was that her unconditional love was about to become her death sentence.
Because I seen King Louis flexing one of these motherfuckers. Oh, kill him.
Oh.
Word on the street, young QC got clothes. Word on the street, QC got the hoe. Motherfucker, yo. Word on the street. Word on the street. Today's flow. Versace shit.
September 1, 2012, started like any other night for Yolanda Holmes. She went to bed in her Chicago apartment, completely unaware that her son was setting a deadly plan in motion. At 4:15 in the morning, while 45-year-old Yolanda Holmes slept peacefully in her Chicago apartment, a hired killer stood over her bed with a gun. He didn't break in. He was let in by Wilson's girlfriend, who drove him there and gave him access to the apartment. Eugene Spencer was 22 years old and had a criminal history. He walked through Yolanda's quiet apartment and went straight to her bedroom where she lay sleeping. Without warning, without giving her a chance to defend herself, Eugene raised his weapon and fired. Yolanda was shot while she slept, but the violence didn't stop there. Yolanda's boyfriend, who was also in the apartment, heard the gunshot and rushed in. Eugene attacked him too, beating him unconscious and leaving him badly injured on the floor. Then something even chilling happened. Eugene received a phone call from the person who hired him. The voice on the other end gave him a cold, calculated instruction. Make sure she's dead. Following this command, Eugene went back to Yolanda's bedroom. Even though she was already gravely wounded from the gunshot, he stabbed her multiple times to ensure she wouldn't survive. This wasn't a random crime. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. This was a calculated execution ordered by someone Yolanda trusted with her life. On the morning of September 2, 2012, police arrived at Yolanda's apartment to find a horrific scene. Yolanda Holmes was pronounced dead at 45 years old. Her boyfriend was unconscious but alive, though badly injured. The crime scene told investigators this wasn't random. There was no forced entry, nothing was stolen. The level of violence was personal, very personal. When Yolanda's boyfriend regained consciousness, he told police that the attacker seemed to know exactly what he was doing. He had come in quietly, targeted Yolanda specifically, and left with purpose. Detectives began looking at Yolanda's life, her routine, her relationships, her family. Eventually, their focus turned to her 23-year-old son, Wilson. What they found didn't add up. While everyone else was mourning Yolanda's death, Wilson seemed strangely unaffected. He was still posting on social media, still making videos, still flashing money around like nothing had happened. For someone whose mother had just been murdered, Wilson showed remarkably little grief. Here's where the case took a shocking turn. In the weeks after Yolanda's death, Wilson accessed her bank accounts and withdrew nearly $70,000. But he didn't use this money quietly or respectfully. Instead, Wilson went on shopping sprees, customized his Mustang further, and made a video that would later be used against him in court. In this video, Wilson is seen withdrawing thousands of dollars from an ATM and then throwing the money to a crowd on the street. He's laughing, showing off, acting like he just won the lottery instead of like someone whose mother had just been brutally murdered. I'm about to go get this.
You feel me, man? I don't play no games. You feel me? I don't play no games, man. You know, I do this for real, bro. I don't got no problem with giving back, man. I'm the only one out here with a show that's actually giving back, you feel me? And I got proof to show it, you feel me? Shout out to this fan I'm finna go slide on, man. I'm finna take care of you.
$1,000 out for the fans, he says in the video. Really? I'm gonna take out $20,000 just to show people. I'm on a whole different level with this. This video became crucial evidence because it showed Wilson's mindset after his mother's death. Instead of grieving, he was celebrating. Instead of mourning, he was flaunting money. Money that came from his dead mother's accounts. While Wilson thought he was being clever, he left a digital trail that would destroy him. Police got access to his phone records and found something damning. In the days before Yolanda was killed, Wilson was in constant contact with Eugene Spencer. The timing and frequency of these calls raised red flags. Investigators also discovered that Wilson's girlfriend had given Eugene a ride to Yolanda's apartment on the night of the murder. When police brought Eugene in for questioning, he broke down and confessed. But what he told them was even worse than they expected. Eugene admitted to shooting Yolanda and attacking her boyfriend. But he said he didn't do it for his own reasons. He did it because Wilson hired him. Wilson had promised him money in exchange for killing his own mother. Even more disturbing, Eugene claimed that during the murder, Wilson called him to make sure the job was done properly. Wilson allegedly told Eugene to go back and confirm that his mother was dead. On December 20th, 2013, more than a year after the crime, Wilson was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, attempted murder, and home invasion. Eugene Spencer was also charged. The news shocked Chicago. People couldn't believe that a son would hire someone to kill his own mother. The community was outraged, heartbroken, and confused.
Some people who knew Wilson said they always felt something was off about him. They remembered his lack of emotion at Yolanda's funeral, his flashy behavior afterward, and his obsession with money and fame. But others were completely stunned. They couldn't imagine how someone could betray their mother in such a brutal way. Police revealed Wilson's motive, and it was as cold as it was simple: money. Wilson was the sole beneficiary of his mother's life insurance policy. He also had access to her bank accounts. But instead of waiting for a natural inheritance, Wilson wanted it all immediately. Prosecutors argued that this wasn't just about money, it was about Wilson's obsession with fame and status. He wanted to be seen as successful, wealthy, and important. He was tired of depending on his mother's support and wanted to access all her resources at once. Yolanda had given Wilson everything: emotional support, financial help, a car, a home, job opportunities, and unconditional love. But to Wilson, it still wasn't enough. He wanted it all, and he wanted it now. The investigation revealed Wilson's motive, and it was as cold as it was simple: money. Wilson was the sole beneficiary of his mother's life insurance policy. He also had access to her bank accounts, but instead of waiting for a natural inheritance, Wilson wanted it all immediately. Prosecutors argued that this wasn't just about money, it was about Wilson's obsession with fame and status. He wanted to be seen as successful, wealthy, and important. He was tired of depending on his mother's support and wanted to access all her resources at once. Yolanda had given Wilson everything: emotional support, financial help, a car, a home, job opportunities, and unconditional love. But to Wilson, it still wasn't enough. He wanted it all, and he wanted it now. In March 2019, Wilson and Eugene Spencer went to trial. The courtroom was packed with media, community members, and Yolanda's loved ones. The evidence against Wilson was overwhelming. Prosecutors had Eugene's confession naming Wilson as the mastermind, phone records showing contact between Wilson and Eugene before the murder, bank records showing Wilson withdrawing Yolanda's money after her death, the video of Wilson throwing money to crowds, witness testimony about Wilson's strange behavior after his mother's death, and forensic evidence linking Eugene to the crime scene. Prosecutors presented the case as the ultimate betrayal. They showed the jury the video of Wilson throwing cash around, describing it as a visual representation of his greed and selfishness. They argued that Wilson's motive wasn't just financial, it was rooted in narcissism. He didn't just want to be successful, he wanted to be seen as a star. And he was willing to sacrifice his mother's life to achieve that goal. The defense had almost nothing to work with. The evidence was too strong, the confession too clear, and Wilson's behavior after the murder too damning. On March 8, 2019, the verdict was delivered. Both Wilson and Eugene Spencer were found guilty on all counts. At sentencing in January 2020, Judge Stanley Sachs didn't hold back. He spoke about how Yolanda had given her son everything: love, opportunity, financial support, and received the ultimate betrayal in return. The sentences were crushing. Wilson received 99 years in prison. Eugene Spencer received 100 years in prison. When given the chance to speak, Wilson showed little emotion. He claimed that no one had loved his mother more than him, but these words rang hollow to everyone in the courtroom. The message from the judge was clear. This wasn't just a crime against a person, it was a crime against family, trust, and the sacred bond between parent and child. Wilson's story didn't end with his conviction. Life in prison brought new challenges and new dangers. In 2015, while he was being held at Cook County Jail awaiting trial, he was involved in a violent incident that made headlines. According to official records, Wilson was assaulted on Tier 3G of the jail. The attack began when another inmate approached him near the phones, took off his jail shirt, and assumed a fighting position. Wilson initially thought the man was joking, but the situation quickly escalated. The attacker threw punches, starting a brief fight. Another prisoner tried to break it up, but moments later, the attacker returned and the violence intensified. Wilson was cornered and struck repeatedly until corrections officers arrived to restore order. But according to reports that surfaced later, this wasn't the end of the violence. Documents that circulated online suggested that Wilson had been assaulted in the shower area and allegedly stabbed multiple times. He survived the attack but required medical attention. There's speculation about why Wilson became a target in jail. In the prison system, certain crimes are viewed with extreme disgust, and killing your own mother is at the top of that list. Inmates have their own code of ethics, and harming family members, especially mothers, violates every principle they hold. Even hardened criminals who have committed serious offenses look down on someone who would betray their own mother. Wilson's brief fame as young QC and his history of flaunting wealth may have also made him a target. In an environment where respect is earned through toughness and loyalty, Wilson's background made him appear weak and selfish. The fact that he had his mother killed for money made him particularly despised among other inmates. Back in Chicago's uptown neighborhood, Yolanda's death left a lasting impact. She wasn't just another crime victim. She was a beloved member of the community. Her clients remembered her as kind, talented, and stylish. Neighbors spoke of her generosity and warm personality. Friends described her as a devoted mother who would do anything for her son. At Yolanda's funeral in 2012, many people noticed that Wilson seemed detached. He didn't sit near the front with other family members and spent much of the service outside, away from the other mourners. At the time, some people thought he was struggling with grief. Now they know he was struggling with guilt. Family members and loved ones continue to express their pain, not just from losing Yolanda, but from the fact that her death came at the hands of the person she loved most. This case forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature. Evil doesn't always come from strangers lurking in dark alleys. Sometimes it grows in silence, inside homes and families, hidden beneath the surface of normal relationships. Yolanda Holmes did everything a mother could do. She worked hard, sacrificed for her son, supported his dreams, and loved him unconditionally. But her kindness was exploited, her trust was weaponized, and her love was rewarded with the ultimate betrayal.
This case isn't about gang violence or drug deals gone wrong. It's about greed, ego, and a twisted sense of entitlement that convinced a young man that his desire for money and fame was worth more than his mother's life. Wilson wanted to be famous, and in a way, he got his wish. But instead of being known for his music, he's known as one of the most cold-blooded killers in Chicago's recent history. Today, Wilson sits in prison serving a 99-year sentence. He will likely die behind bars, never again experiencing freedom, never again having the chance to build a real career or have a family of his own. The money he killed for is long gone. The fame he craved became infamy. The success he thought he deserved became a lifetime of punishment. Meanwhile, Yolanda Holmes is remembered not as a victim, but as a loving mother who deserved so much better than the son she raised. Her story serves as a reminder that some bonds should be sacred, that some lines should never be crossed, and that some prices are too high to pay, no matter what you think you'll gain. The case of Wilson and Yolanda Holmes isn't just a true crime story. It's a cautionary tale about what happens when greed overcomes love, when entitlement destroys family bonds, and when the pursuit of material success becomes more important than human life. Wilson traded his mother's life for money and brief notoriety. In return, he received a lifetime of imprisonment, the hatred of his community, and a legacy of shame that will follow his name forever. Justice was served in that Chicago courtroom, but the real tragedy is that it took Yolanda's death to deliver it. A devoted mother paid the ultimate price for her son's greed, and no amount of prison time can undo that loss. This story reminds us to cherish the people who love us unconditionally, to recognize the difference between want and need, and to understand that some betrayals can never be forgiven, not by society, not by family, and certainly not by the justice system. Yolanda Holmes deserved better. She deserved a son who appreciated her sacrifices, honored her love, and protected her in her vulnerable moments. Instead, she got a son who saw her as nothing more than an obstacle to his selfish ambitions. We tell the story not to glorify the crime, but to remember the victim, a hard-working mother whose only mistake was loving her son too much. Her memory deserves to be honored, her story deserves to be told, and her life deserves to be remembered for the love she gave, not the betrayal she received. Rest in peace, Yolanda Holmes. Your community hasn't forgotten you, and justice, though delayed, was ultimately served.